Welcome to Let's Get Tender, Money Conversations That Matter, a video podcast series with certified money coach Marlene Elizabeth, with amazing weekly guests who share their inner challenges, personal triumphs, and inside tips and strategies so you can prosper, lead, and love bravely in business and life. So get comfy and get ready to grow money with you.
Hi everyone, welcome to Let's Get Tender. I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest today who's taken time out of her very busy schedule to chat about money with me. Welcome to the show, Ms. Kimberly Scherher.
Thank you. I am excited to be here.
Oh, me too. I am so excited to chat with you today. But before we get started, I wanted just to share a little bit with viewers today, a little bit about you. So Kimberly is a teen breakthrough coach and founder of Academy for Independence. She has a passion for creating next generation leaders. She works closely with teens who she feels are a misunderstood group brimming with potential. Kimberly gives them time-tested, research-based, and cutting-edge skills to help them navigate life's challenges. These lifelong skills build confidence, boost self-esteem, and ensure that teens can dream big and, most of all, believe in themselves to make breakthrough choices beyond what they considered possible. Kimberly has an MA in counseling psychology and has over a decade's experience working with parents and teens in the Silicon Valley and beyond. So welcome again to the show, Kimberly.
Thank you.
So as you know, in this podcast, we talk all about money, but not the nuts and bolts of money. We talk a little bit more about the behavioral side of our relationship to money. And so I always start with this question. Kimberly, what is your earliest memory of money?
My earliest memory of money is what I call the money box. My dad owned his own business and he had a box for petty cash that he could, give his salespeople when they needed change or needed just some miscellaneous items, right? So, and he would take that money box home with him. So my earliest memory is when I wanted something, if my parents said something like, we don't really have the money for that, I'd say, why don't you just go into the money box? I mean, it was like a money tree to me, because I was young and didn't have any concept that was hard-earned money. And that the purpose wasn't to give me everything I wanted. It was actually, part of having that available to salespeople for my dad's business. So
I love this memory. It reminds me of a pastor that I once listened to, and he talked about having this warm memory of always knowing that they had a money box in their home, and their father kept it in place so that they would, anytime they needed kind of like petty cash, so to speak, they would have it there. It wouldn't be big money, but just something that came up. And so in that way, he always felt provided for. I'm not saying, or I'm not sure if that's the experience that it gave you, but just the idea of a money box and that children, through a child's eyes, I think that is such a neat concept. And because you picture it with so much potential that's in that money box. So, oh, thank you for sharing that beautiful memory and very special memory. Mm-hmm. So Kimberly, in this show, we talk about some of the challenges that we face when it comes to our relationship to money. And they usually just go back to the limiting belief that we carry, that we somehow developed throughout time. Sometimes it could be from this earliest memory of money or from another experience that we've had. And over time, we start to form this belief, whether it's actually true or not, doesn't really matter, but we do live our life as if it's true. And oftentimes it can cause challenges for us in our relationship to money. So I wanted to ask you, have you ever struggled with a limiting belief around money that's kind of prevented you from reaching your financial dreams?
Several limiting money beliefs for sure. One that stands out for me though is I really believed for a very long time that if I wanted to make the amount of money I wanted to make, I had to struggle for it. And at the time, I was a single mom and had just started a new business. And for the first year, I worked 12-hour days, 6 days a week. And I remember even back then hating holidays, actually, because I wanted to work. I didn't want any of my clients to, I didn't want to have that time off. And then I did a meditation and kind of went into some shadows or limiting beliefs and really had an epiphany, because it was, yeah, that was my belief. If I wanted to make money, I had to struggle for it. And I was making that a reality for me, right? Working 12-hour days, 6 days a week was difficult, and having kids and being available for them. So that was definitely limiting, I guess, because it also didn't allow me much room for creativity or fun. And I think that actually helps to create money when you have that space versus working all the time and having that tension. So, yeah. And I also used to attach success, the meaning of success, with the amount of money one made. And I think that was also very limiting. And once I could free myself of that, that was helpful. Money flowed more easily and naturally when I didn't attach it to the significance that I'm successful.
Yes. So there's kind of two beliefs that you share here that are often common limiting beliefs. That one, especially, for women, we can just really become overworked and like you said, lose that connection to our creativity, our ability to really connect to the fun side of just creating and creating creating solutions for problems. That's, as entrepreneurs, that's what really all about is, being passionate about some type of problem that's out there and really coming from a creative perspective to solve it. And then the money flows, right? And then, like you said too, this connection between success is equal to the amount of money in our bank account. And so then we work so hard getting to that point, and then now we've got all that money in the bank account, and yet we're not quite happy. We thought, well, it's not like I thought it was going to be. These are really powerful limiting beliefs that can keep us stuck for a very long time, because of course the effects of that, right? You're working hard. You don't have time with your children. They're dying for your attention. They're wanting more of mommy, and mommy's trying to just wear all the hats and do it all. And in the meantime, you're trying to serve your clients, and I don't know how much our self-care really gets paid attention to, right? All the aspects. And then really, is the money really coming in after all that hard work?
Right.
Right. So how did you then start, overcoming this challenge in your life? I like to call it, what brave feather action steps did you take? Because I really believe it takes courage to change. I really do. I believe that once we realize there's a problem and that something has to change, to actually take steps to change it is brave. So what kind of action steps did you take?
Honestly, I think it was just once I had that into my awareness, and the other piece to that was the role of a victim, because, in every story, there's the victim and there's the hero and there's the antagonist, right? So my default is the victim story. And so that kind of went with the struggling with money. And it really was, once that was brought into my awareness, which really shocked me, right? I mean, it was just not in my consciousness at all. So once it was, I was just like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this story. And I don't want this to be my reality, where I'm struggling all the time for money, or that I'm feeling powerless to get myself out of circumstances that are not very desirable. And that's really what helped me change it. And then it was just about really being more mindful with my practice of what thoughts I'm letting in my mind. So if I'm going to continue with the thought that I have to struggle with money, or, you know, it's so easy for everybody else, why isn't it easy for me? And get into all of that, then I'm kind of staying stuck in limitation. And so when I would catch those thoughts, I would just, in a way, reframe it and really think about, you know, I truly now believe there's an abundance of money for us all. I believe that it really is your relationship with money, to look at that really. When you frame it that way, it helped me to see things with more clarity. And then it was just putting some of those new beliefs and thoughts into practice and bringing more joy into my life. And that's what, those were the steps I took. Truly, it was a lot of more mindfulness, I guess.
You know, I can relate to what you said earlier about sometimes you can get thinking, like you said, in a victim kind of mentality, or a way that we approach our relationship to money can be from a perspective of feeling like a victim, and the sense of, why can everyone else do it and I can't? And I actually even wrote about that in my book, Money Wings. I told the story. I took my daughter to go see Shrek, the musical. And there's a scene, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a scene where they send little baby Shrek off. He's 7 years old. And they send him off. They say, okay, it's time to go off on your own, you know, and they start to sing and they start to tell him, you know, it's a big, bright, beautiful world, but just not for you, you know. And of course they frame it, it's presented in a comical way. So of course the audience is laughing and all, but sometimes we can get into that feeling of, why is this so easy for everyone else? What did I miss? You know, what happened? I didn't get the money gene, you know? And yet after, like you said, when you start becoming much more mindful, and, you know, and I'm sure, you know, probably you have started maybe reading different books, and maybe even hanging around with some different people too that think differently about money and have more productive ways about looking at their relationship to money. And it starts to rub off, and you start to realize, you know, it's actually deeper than this. There's something within me that if I shift it, it's going to open new doors. And like you said, when you said about the fact that you now feel that money is abundant, and you also talked about creativity, isn't that true that when you connect back to your creative self, then it does become, it's like the sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kimberly, you brought up some powerful points here. Powerful. So basically, once you start reframing, you use that word reframe. That's powerful. You just reframe it, and then you start acting if that new belief is true, right? A more productive belief about money is true. And then because you're starting to experiencing some new positive experiences, then it kind of reinforces itself, right?
Right. And I think that's, for me, awareness is key. And I know that sounds so simple, but an analogy is, you don't know what you don't know. So when something does come into your awareness, like for me, that I had this limiting belief of struggling with money, or, you know, the victim, you know, everybody else, it's so easy and not me. When I'm aware of that, and then I'm frustrated, and then it's like, okay, I want to change it. And then I reframe it to, there's an abundance of money, or my desire is to make this amount of money, you know, and I wouldn't have that desire if it wasn't possible. So when I start putting those reframes in, then the behavior kind of follows that. And because my awareness is now open, I'm starting to see the miracles, if you will, that I wasn't seeing before, right? Because I was in my story. So that's what I saw. That was my filter. And then I just gained evidence to justify that story. When I reframed and had a different story and would stop those thoughts, put a new positive thought in place of that, then I was seeing more positive things. I was seeing the miracles. I was finding money even, and being appreciative, whether it was a penny or a quarter or $100. And then I'd find more money. I mean, it just kind of expanded, if you will. So.
And when you talk about the approaching money from a victim point of view, I often talk about this in my coaching with clients about the money archetypes and how there's a range, at least 8 different ways, kind of common ways that we approach money. Victim is one. Sometimes we can come at it, like you said, a lens, a perspective of martyr, sometimes a tyrant, sometimes an innocent. You just kind of put your head in the ground and
Right.
go away if I just don't look, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the creator artist.
Yeah.
And then there's the magician, and then there's the warrior. And we all, of course, want to be mindful of it. And it reminds me of shifting from being a passenger to being in the driver's seat and making that choice, making that decision to do that.
I love that. And that to me is so powerful. We all have choice, and that's what I'm all about for the teens. It's that's it. We're in choice. We're in choice of sticking or having whatever story we want, and we're in choice of creating whatever it is that we desire. We have to take action steps and have a plan, but we are in choice to choose that if we want. And if we really want it, if it's really a priority, we can make it happen. So I love your choice of words. So, and true that the creativity, I feel, and the joy is so important, because I don't know, it's kind of like meditation or thinking of 3 things you're grateful for every day. That really can improve my mood instantly, immediately. And yet it probably takes no more than 3 minutes a day. I mean, a meditation can, whatever you call a meditation, somewhere can be very long, but it doesn't have to be. And it just puts you in a different frame of mind. And I feel like your workday flows better, money flows better, just because you're in a different frame of mind, but also a different spirit, right? Like if you're in gratitude and joy, just feel like you attract more of that to you in your day. So, and it doesn't take, that could be a daily practice of 10 minutes or less in the morning, right? So for me.
Yes. I think too, what you are touching upon as well is the connection with our body, because when we are disconnected from our creativity and fun, and everything becomes up here, everything becomes the chin and above, everything's all up here, right? And yet when we connect back into our creativity and fun and meditation, like you said, these all engage us back. They bring us back into our body, and that brings us back into our present, which is sometimes hard if our emotions or anxiety or stress or fears have us going from 0 to 60 way, way, way ahead. Yeah. And that's why, like you said, those deep breaths that we can take in and then exhale out, it really physiologically changes our body so that we can recenter and reground. And then that does help us to attract that money, because we feel more open to the opportunities that are right in front of us that we can't see. We feel so constricted.
Right.
Yeah. And I think especially this piece is important, I think it's important for all human beings, but there's an additional piece for women that it takes a particular path, because women are connected so much more physiologically, neurologically with their emotions, that you can see, like in brain scans, you can see that the brain in women lights up like the LA freeway when it comes to emotions. And for men, it's a little bit more like a 1-lane country highway. And we can see that now, right? And so that's why sometimes when, if I talk to my dad or my brother, who I'm very close to, and if we don't quite connect what we're saying, we love each other dearly, but if we don't quite connect, but I can connect perfectly and beautifully with my, female friends, sometimes it's because of that difference in our brain structure. But that's why this piece is so important in terms of women connecting with their relationship to money and their finances, being able to be connected with their body, not just up here, which, I hear you on that. I hear you. So Kimberly, what belief do you now hold true about money? You mentioned one, but maybe is there another belief that you find that empowers you in your relationship to money, in addition to that, money is abundant, because creativity is abundant?
Yes. for me, and I remind myself a lot, and I do believe this, that money follows joy, because it's, again, your relationship with money. So when I think of money, my relationship to money, so for me, I can think of money as a person. And the type of person I want to hang around with is somebody who's positive, upbeat, and joyous, and just fun. So that's where I naturally want to go. If there's somebody that's kind of feeling depressed or everything's negative, I'm not as attracted to hang out with that person. And I kind of see money kind of the same way. Like, if you're joyful and happy, then I just feel like you attract money to you, because it's your relationship with money. So
I think this is brilliant. In fact, I think you have a book, at the very least a chapter, because I think that is a fantastic way to view money. Because I know in general, most people feel very uncomfortable talking about money, because it does elicit all those uncomfortable feelings that we don't want to, we either don't feel we want to go, we just don't want to go there, shame and fear and anxiety and stress and all those things. But if we can flip that around and even realize that it's possible to have a relationship with money where, we connect that money is joy and joy is money.
mm-hmm.
That's beautifully intertwined. Wow. Just the possibilities. I love that. I'm going to adopt that. Thank you for that. And viewers, adopt that. That is such a great way to look at money. I picture the dance of it and all. So what would you say, Kimberly, then are some lessons, or even a lesson that you've learned, whether it's in your business, working with teens, or just even in just being an entrepreneur, but any kind of lessons you've learned that you can relate that help in your relationship to money, that you've kind of connected?
Well, I have two that are coming up for me right now. And one is looking at your leaks with money as an entrepreneur, or just in general. Because again, I think that taps back into awareness. Sometimes I don't want to say, we're not always conscious or deliberate, maybe I should say, in our spending. And I think when we can look at where we are spending our money, we might see some places, I don't know, like, wow, do I really spend $50 a week on Starbucks coffee? And is that really what I want to choose? Or in business or in general, follow through is very important. And again, going back to awareness, keeping track of where you are spending money, and just keeping track of finances. Because I cannot tell you how many times I have looked at my bank statements and there have been subscriptions I've canceled that my money is still being deducted. So but I wouldn't have caught it if I wasn't paying attention to my money flows, right? And one way to do that is looking at your bank statements. And I've also caught a lot of, purchases made in, over in the East Coast when I'm still in the Silicon Valley. So obviously that's, somebody got the debit number or whatever it was. So catching that. So again, being more aware of your money instead of letting fear or shame kind of, I liked what you said about putting your head in the sand. That you really need to kind of look out at your money and your spending and all of that, and really try to be okay with it, and fix what really isn't working, or look at really, what you're really choosing to do, and make different choices. Because if you just ignore money, again, I think of it back to the relationship, it will ignore you. And so I feel like if you're more in tune with where you're spending, looking at your leaks, following up on things, to make sure that you're, in a way, safeguarding your money, I just feel that on an energetic level, I guess, that will bring more money to you because you're just aware of it more. And the other thing that came to me was the value of you with money. I think it's important. Oftentimes we can get into, money, and all my money goes to paying bills, and it's all about bills. And I think it's important. One step you can do is just save a small amount that's just for you. Like, not necessarily spending that. It's not about spending it necessarily. It's just about taking some of your money that you've earned and just putting it, even if it's 10%, kind of like if it's 10% just for you and just to have in a bank account. You don't need to spend it. And I think that really is getting us, well, it helps me to be mindful of, it's not just bills or the services that I'm paying for with my bills that are important. I'm also important and valued, and I'm going to take some of that money and just put it into savings for me, if that makes sense.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I love these tips. These are fantastic. They're so smart, and they're a way to help women protect their finances and protect what they've created, and honor what they've created, whether it's personally or professionally. You're right about money leaks. So we kind of sometimes sabotage ourselves, right? But like what you're saying, if we're letting fear run the show or even shame run the show, wow, our ship is gonna end up crashing into the side, and we don't want that for ourselves. So how, I know sometimes I will, and you've mentioned it before, when those fears and those anxieties start to creep up, okay, I want to look at that bank statement. I want to open it. I know Kimberly said I should open this, but I get anxious. So like you said, meditation, okay, take time to stop, breathe. I can do this. There's a lot of somatic practices there are calming techniques that are readily available for us to be able to tap into, because it really does connect back to our body. Our body registers these things, but there are ways for us to do this. So I love what you're sharing here, Kimberly. It's fantastic. And especially, like you said, accumulating some money that is just for you, even whether you don't spend it or not.
Right.
It's there. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So Kimberly, what have you learned to be true about money that you would maybe whisper to your little self? If you knew it back then, what would you whisper to that little person? And you probably may even do it in some way, shape, or form with the teams you work with. Yeah.
Well, gosh, I guess it goes back still to, I think it would be very helpful for me to hear that money follows joy.
Yes.
I think that would, I don't know, especially as a child, that would be because they have such magical, spirits. Like it would just seem so obvious. Of course it follows joy. And if that was my belief, I think my actions would be different. And I think money flows would be easier, right? That would be a much better story than you have to work hard to earn that money, right? Penny for penny. So I think that's one. And I think the other one, and I do tell teens this, is about valuing yourself. Because bills are important, the services are important, rent's important, all that's important, although teens aren't really so much dealing with rent, but they will be. But you're important too. And just saying yes to you and just setting aside a small percentage of each paycheck, and then you can just see it build. But with the spirit of, this is for me, And then I think another key thing that would be helpful too is just the power of and joy of having money. There's a difference between spending money and enjoying having money. And because if you're always spending money, yes, it will come back to you. But, again, I'm just going to keep playing this relationship thing. But again, if you're in relationship, right, with a person and you really like that person, you don't want them to just kind of go away. You want to keep them around and enjoy their company, and kind of like the same with money. So enjoying having money, just having it. So I think that would really be helpful.
Very, very. Oh my goodness. The wisdom you've shared today is fabulous, and I so appreciate it. I thank you so much for being here, Kimberly. And before we sign off, please, can you let us know how can viewers reach out to connect with you, or maybe learn more about your products or services that you offer?
Thank you. Go to my website, AFI, the number 4, me.com. And there on the homepage, right when you get to my website, there is a button that you can push and get a free download of, I believe it's 5 very powerful productivity tips that apply whether you're an adult or a teen. So that's one gift that I would like to offer your listeners. And I will be having a upcoming webinar on the 5 shifts. So it's more of it's not just an informational webinar, it's a transformational webinar. So you'll learn some tips to help your teens if they're not doing so well academically, to help them boost their grades up and their confidence. So if you get the productivity tips, you'll be on my email list. And once the webinar is completed, then I'll be able to send that to your listeners' way as well. And I just created a safe, confidential parent support group, parents of teens, called Parents Empowering Teens to Achieve Their Dreams. And that's free. And in that group, I'll be giving freebies out, tips, as well as have a monthly Q&A call for parents. So your listeners, if they have teens, would love for them to join that group as well, and that's free.
Oh, fantastic. Kimberly, I feel your passion in everything you're offering, and I highly recommend you viewers to please check out Kimberly's webinar, her website, even her free Facebook group. Lots of great material here to empower and impact our future, our teens. Yeah. My little one's only 11, but I'm heading there. We're almost there. So.
You are.
Yes. So, well, again, thank you so much, Kimberly, for being here today.
Thank you very much for having me. It was delightful.